1958 Berkeley Project, Episode 3. We actually have more parts now. I showed you some parts in the second video. That was all the stuff that was donated by Street Machine Cycles in Pinellas Park, Florida. That was my motor, which the motor was not donated from them, but I found it through them. But all of my suspension components have been donated from them. Also a lot of mock-up parts that was used. But I just got this in today from BMI Kart Supply. They supply shifter carts and other small racing vehicles. This is a 6061 aluminum forged billet mounting flange for my sprocket. It goes on an 1.25" shaft with a 1/4" keyway. It's a crush clamp design. It's a really trick piece. They actually sent me 2 of them, which is for the other Berkeley we're building. That Bill, who manufactures the bodies, that's for him. But this is the one that I'm using. Now, initially, we thought we were going to be able to use the factory rear sprocket off of a 1999 through 07 Hayabusa. That's what this is. This is a 40-tooth by 530 chain combination sprocket. We found out once this came in the mail that this sprocket is a 6-on 5.5 bolt pattern. The adapters from BMI are a 6-on 5.25. So as you can see, that is not going to work. So thank you, Mike at Street Machines, for the sprocket, but it is now a paperweight. So we have the adapter. This is actually a very inexpensive piece. It was only about $28. So it's one of those things that everybody struggles with when they're building their kart, is how am I going to get my motorcycle sprocket to hook to the chain? If you're not in the karting world or anything like that, you might try and go to a machine shop like I almost did to have this made. And to have somebody make this from scratch, you're probably going to spend a couple $100. And I spent $28 or whatever it is. They're very inexpensive. This is the heaviest one that they have. They've got other lighter ones, but I figured I'd go with this one. Now, for sprockets, we're going through a company called speedparts.com. You can find them on Facebook at Speed Parts. And they make a 2-piece aluminum racing sprocket for either 6-on 5.25 or 6-on 5.5. And they make it in tooth combinations between 38 and 71 tooth for the rear sprocket. And that gives you a lot of gear ratios to play with and a lot of options. They also make it in 520 and 530 chain. Some other parts that were donated by Street Machine Cycles are the dog bones for our suspension. These are off of a 2001 through 2006 Gixxer 1000. And we were initially going to use these because they're plentiful and they're really cheap. Anyone who loaders their motorcycle takes these and throws them in the garbage or throws them on eBay or Craigslist. But when they're mounted on the motorcycle, they're mounted parallel to the ground like this, and they hold a pivot that just kind of sit there, and they're in tension. We are putting them in pressure. I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but I made a little diagram to explain our suspension. This is the wheel, and this is your lower A-arm, your upper A-arm, and this is where your dog bone mounts right here to a pivot, and the shock is mounted inboard. This is to move the weight onto the chassis and off of the suspension. It improves handling. They've been doing it in F1 for thousands of years. But the problem is, this piece of aluminum was never designed to be put in pressure like that. Even mounted in two like this, they're gonna bend or break. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm not willing to risk it, because if this fails, then that means the cart hits the ground, and at that point the body's painted and the chassis powder coated, and I'm just not going to risk it. So we're actually having these laser cut out of 3/8 thick hardened steel, and that should be enough to hold the weight of me and the cart and a full tank of fuel, seeing as there'll be 2 of these on each corner. The pivots we'll be using are the suspension link pivots off of a 99 through 07 Busa. They're plentiful. There's like 300 of them on eBay right now, and it's a really nice cast aluminum piece. Prevents you from having to fabricate it, and it looks nice. It's got internal bushings in it, and it just works out a lot nicer than having to buy something or build something yourself. So that's what we're doing, and that's the update so far. That's it for now.